Welcome, welcome, welcome. So happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. It is GT Tuesday. And I got a new computer. So, it's always something learning different and moving forward. All right. All right. Marvelous. Right. So we're going to change the date. It's still not reflecting it, but that's all right. We're going to work it. All right. Yep, it's the right one. I'll update to date. All right, so everyone, thank you for joining me today. We got a couple of some newbies with us today. We're going to be talking a few things, but then we're going to continue our conversation on professional development. But as you know, we're going to go get into it. So, how's everyone doing out there? Everyone's well. I know it's a beautiful day here. Hopefully, you're doing well. Everything's good in your schools. It's the last day of February. Some of you, it's tomorrow's payday. I know it is for me. So there's some good things going on. It's a beautiful day. It's not raining. It's windy, but it's not raining. So we're good. Beautiful day. Beautiful day. Hopefully you get to go out for recess with your kids or, step out, do something a little different. So there's a little sunshine out there. All right. See you, Meredith. Great things going on in Humble. All right, here we go. So as you know, I always like to touch on our state definition. So really, looking at those kids who show potential or who are performing at that remarkably high level of accomplishment. And then, really thinking about what does that mean in your district? And then also wrapping it back around to our professional development, how are you training your people to meet that high level of accomplishment? What are they doing in those classrooms, in those curriculum pieces to say, this is what high level of accomplishment looks like. This is what we expect, especially of kids of the same age, experience, or environment. So really getting that nitty gritty of what does that look like on your campuses, in your buildings, in your districts, and then as we start looking at how does that compare out across the state? And so really getting into that conversation, especially locally, what does that look like? And then exhibits high performance capability in an intellectual, creative, or artistic way. What does that look like for you? It may look different. I'm gonna pick on the people who put, who's for HEB, ISD, compared to Humble. It's going to look different just by the fact of the populations. So really thinking about what does that look like for you? Possesses an unusual capacity for leadership. We're going to be talking about leadership, and we're going to be talking about those pieces. And, I threw it out there. We're going to look at some strands and look at some, what does that look like? And once again, there is no test for leadership. Okay, there is no test. But then that specific academic field, what are we looking for as we talk about our students, especially as they go into these departmentalized classes and these specific subjects, and especially our middle schoolers and our high schoolers? What does that look like? And then for some of you, how do you test for that? And so really getting into where are we going? How do we design that? And then our goal, how do our students demonstrate those skills in self-directed learning, thinking, research, communication, as evidenced by the development of innovative products and performances? And I want to step back also to a statement in this, self-directed learning and thinking. Now, a lot of our kids can do that, but we're also educators. And part of our job and responsibility is to make sure they have the skills to do it, but that should not be the independent. So if you are knowing that most of your inclusion classrooms or your cluster grouping, those kids are really learning by themselves because basically the teacher just puts them in that spot and they are here, go for it. We need to really think about what does that mean for our district and what are we doing and how much self-directed learning is going on. Because if they're getting their own education, are they really going to the full extent? Are we really pulling out their goals, and are we really pushing them to the next level? So I'm gonna leave it at that. So thank you for joining me. This is our afternoon session. Our next one will be at 9 a.m. So and then we got a special guest coming in, and so we got a couple more coming in for our conversation. as we talk about different things that are GT related. I think the next one is actually the Bridges group is coming in and talking. So, there'll be a little bit more twice exceptional, talking about some of the social and emotional needs of our students. And so that will be, if you're looking for another one to come, like do I need to catch? That might be the one for you. Right. And so that leads me to Texas Association for the Gifted and Talented, and our friend Paulina Van Eden Hill cannot be with us today, but our newest friend with TAGT is Kirsten Graham, and she is here with us today. So Kirsten, welcome.
Hey everyone, I'm so glad to be with y'all today. Monica, thanks for starting the chat today with a focus on getting outside and doing what you can, because that's where I am today. I'm managing my own mental health and working outside. We have so much coming up for TAGT that I wanted to either remind you about or let you know about to make sure that you are saving dates and having room on your calendar. So as I hope everyone on here knows, our leadership conference is coming up at the end of March, the 26th through the 28th, and we're going to be in Fort Worth this year. So if you haven't registered or, talk to your district to get approval or do whatever you need to do, please, we would love for you to join us. We are so excited about the lineup of sessions that we have. That information is going to be published, should be by the end of the day tomorrow. You should be able to check out all of our breakout sessions. Last week, we sent out information on our deep dives, on everything from identification to equity. If you're a new coordinator, we have a whole deep dive for new coordinators, as well as a new coordinator meetup. So if you are new to your role, we have made space for you at the leadership conference, and we really, really want you to attend and network and meet some folks. Also at the leadership conference, we have our principals workshop, which is being led by Kelsey Karcher, Meredith Austin, and Camila Holmes, and they did a fabulous job with us at GIFT in Houston, and we got great feedback. And I know you DFW folks were asking for that for leadership. So they are presenting that again. And we would love for your principals to come. At leadership conference, if your principals come for the morning part, that also will include lunch and attendance or registration at our summit, which is also focused on working with campus leadership. And so we've got a program lineup with a principal panel. We're going to be talking about total school cluster grouping, et cetera. So if you either haven't added the summit for yourself, take note of that. But also if you have some campus leaders, we would love for them to come and get that learning and go back ready to continue that partnership with you. Couple other things event related. We've opened up the Gifted Plus Equity Conference call for proposals. So if you have been at all interested in submitting a proposal for our Gifted Plus Equity Conference, now is the time. If you're wondering what that is, that's our conference that's focused on gifted and so all of our underserved populations, everything from whether it's our Black gifted students to LGBTQ to rural populations, like all of that combined, all of our student populations that historically have not maybe gotten the resources or things that they need to be served well. And so not only do we hope that you will attend that event, we're going to be down in Galveston this year, June 4th through the 6th. We're really excited about that. Our steering committee is meeting today. We're also going to talk about some field trips related to that event. But make sure you check out our website and you can submit your call for proposals there. Also coming up, our ELP Emerging Leaders Program application has been opened. So if you or someone you know in your district, or maybe you have a neighboring district in your area where you know there's a new coordinator, please encourage them to check out the ELP program, or maybe you've been in your role a year or two and you could really use some dedicated support, a mentor. Check out ELP. I'm an ELP alumni. I know there's a lot of people on this call that have been through the ELP program, and I can just really attest to how beneficial it was to have that support. I now work for TAGT. I feel like I won the lottery. So anyway, check out ELP scholarship. My coworker Sarah's laughing about that. Also scholarships are open. So if you know a student or family that would be interested in that, those applications are open through March 31st. So again, all that information is on our website, so you can check that out. Season 3 of our podcast just launched. Again, if you haven't checked out seasons 1 and 2, they're really awesome. Available on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And also save the date, April 4th during GT Awareness Week this year, April 4th at 6:30 p.m. We're going to have our parent webinar with Andy McNear. Oh, sorry, someone's dog is barking. With Andy McNear, and she's going to be talking about how to take Genius Hour beyond just the individual student. So basically how to have Genius Hour in your family, how to extend that learning and extend that experience outside of school. So save the date. I know when I was a GT coordinator for the parent webinars, I would always go ahead and plan an event for all my, to invite my parents to come up to campus to watch in a group so we could discuss and have kind of an event around that. We will also record it. So if you're not available that evening to, maybe host an event, but you want to do it at a later date, the recording will be available. So just to put a bug in your ear about connecting with your parents and community around that. That's again going to be April 4th at 6:30, and we're going to have registration opening, and we'll have emails sent out about it starting next week. Okay, I shared a lot with you guys. Does anyone have any questions over all the stuff coming up? Okay, well, I hope to see most, if not all of you at Leadership Conference. I almost said this month, but tomorrow it'll be this month at the end of March.
Right. Thank you, Kristen. Everyone, you see Paulina's email on the screen. If you don't have it, jot it down. And then Kristen, if you put yours in the text, in the chat, text, oh my, in the chat, that will help for those who have an immediate question. And thank you. All right. So got another opportunity for you. And it was brought by from actually from a friend who was on the call with us. So I would like to introduce Autumn. Autumn is working with Brilliance, Excellence, and Equity Project, and they have a conference coming to Texas and actually here in Austin. So Autumn, I believe you're on the call, right? Hopefully. I think she is. Autumn or, let me say Crystal Keller. I think they were with them. If not, I can talk about it. All right. So Gifted in Color is going to be April 13th through the 15th here in Austin, Texas, on the campus of the Houston-Tillotson University for 2 days of Equity Center Professional Development. The Gifted in Color Conference seeks to send the voices and experiences of Black, Hispanic, and Indigenous people in gifted education. Sessions will provide culturally affirming training in gifted identification and assessment and how giftedness looks different in diverse populations. You will also learn strategies to integrate with your existing assessments and curricula to make sure the needs of students who are traditionally left out of the gifted picture are met. So you have a QR code that you can scan, and as you know, I will post the PowerPoint up. That's part of my goal for this week is to get them all posted and up. Or you can visit www.giftedincolor.com to get more information. They have a whole weekend planned. I will be there for the morning session. And then I'm moving on to San Antonio for a student and parent conference. So feel free to join, look into it, find out some more information, and that's what I have on that. And if they hear later, they can pop on and give a little bit more. The next is our Gifted Education Family Network with Kimberly. Kimberly, I know you're here because I see you. And if you come off mute, and I know that you have a few things you want to share, and it is yours.
Thank you so much, Monica. I am thrilled to be here. I appreciate you giving us a few minutes to talk about our organization, and I'm going to try to share my screen if I can. I think if you can stop sharing, perfect. Yep. And then I hopefully will be able to share mine. Okay. Okay, are you guys seeing that? Can you guys see it okay? I'm hoping you can.
So what we see is your PowerPoint layout is not the projection. So we see all your slide deck, all of the backside.
Got it. Okay. Let me.
So if you go back to it, and yeah, if you where you see like the reading pane at the very bottom, I think you're at the very bottom next to like the center display settings. If you just scroll over one more over to the left.
There, I think I got
There
it.
you go. Yep. There
Perfect.
you
Thank you. I had some of my menu settings were obscured. But anyway, thank you. Thank you so much for giving us time to be here today. I do want to introduce myself. I am Kim Farbus, and I am a GT parent. I have 2 GT children, both of whom are out of K-12 education at this point. My youngest graduated last year and is currently a freshman at UT Austin. And my oldest, my son, graduated from A&M 2 years ago and is currently working in Dallas. So he is off of our payroll, and we are super excited about that. In my professional life, I am a business coach. I own my own business, and I also spend a whole lot of time doing volunteering and advocacy for public education and for gifted education, and I have done that for the last 18 years. I'm actually currently in Austin. I spent the entire day yesterday at the Capitol doing advocating for public education. We were talking to our legislators about things. I see someone clapping. I can't see everybody, but yes, it was a long day, but we were talking to legislators about things like teacher salaries, increasing the basic allotment, school safety, mental health, saying no to vouchers, et cetera, et cetera. This is my 4th legislative session that I have been able to come here and do that, and it is always a very powerful day. But what I am here to talk to you guys about today is an organization that I am currently the president of. It is called the Gifted Education Family Network, and we are all about offering free support, networking, and resources for GT families all over the state of Texas. So our mission statement is to provide excellence and equity in gifted education, and we go about doing that really in 3 ways. One is by connecting families who have an interest in gifted education. 2 is by educating and supporting those families on topics around gifted education. And 3 is by advocating for strong, challenging gifted education programs. When I talk to educators about our organization, one thing that they sometimes are unaware of is that our Texas state plan for gifted and talented requires that districts provide an opportunity for parents and community members to be involved in a parent organization or a gifted and talented advocacy group. And I know from working with districts across the state that there are a whole lot of districts who don't have either one of those types of groups locally. So something that you guys can do easily to help meet this requirement is to send your families our way. As I mentioned, our membership is 100% free. So you don't have to worry that you're suggesting something that might be out of reach for some families. And we also are completely statewide. So you don't have to worry about maybe, being in an area that we wouldn't service. We are happy to take everyone from everywhere. A couple of the things, just a little more about our group, is that in addition to our membership being free, our events are also almost always free. If we do find that we have to charge a small fee for some of our events, we always make scholarships available. So we are all about equity and access. So we really do try to keep things as accessible as possible. One of the other things that I really love about our group is that we partner with a lot of universities around the state of Texas. We have professors from many universities that sit on our advisory board, and several of those also sit on our legislative advocacy committee. So currently the universities that we are working with are Baylor, UNT, Prairie View A&M, Texas State, and A&M College Station. Ironically, we don't yet have a partner at UT, but now that my daughter's going there, I'm hoping maybe that'll give me an in, and I can come up with somebody from UT, because we would love to have that too. We, of course, are 501c3, and we were started in 2019, right after the Texas legislature decided to remove the GT allotment. And the reason for that, as you guys know, when that happened, the intention of the legislature was that GT programs would continue to be funded out of the basic allotment, but that was going to rely very heavily on advocacy and accountability at the local levels in order to ensure that that continued to happen. And so our group was formed really to just make sure there was a collaboration of GT advocates across the state, and also be able to work with our educators to make sure that those things happened. Since we're talking about advocacy and legislation, and since the legislative session is going on, I thought I would just let you know a couple of the things that we are up to currently. We have put together our legislative priorities for this session. We did work with our university partners on those, and we do have 3 of them. The first one is an update to requirements for early kindergarten entry. Interestingly, it came to our attention that the current requirement in the state code for getting a child enrolled early in kindergarten. So if you're a parent who has a 4-year-old that you think is really ready for kindergarten, the current requirement is that that child must demonstrate a mastery of 3rd grade skills in order to enter kindergarten early. So they basically have to show they're ready for 4th grade in order to be able to enter kindergarten early. And we haven't found a single person who could explain that to us or thinks that makes much sense. So our proposal is that that requirement be changed to showing a mastery of 1st grade skills. And we do have a Representative Giovanni Capriglione out of South Lake is going to file this bill for us in the House. And that should be filed, if not today, then probably tomorrow. And we also have a Senator Tan Parker, who is out of Flower Mound, that I think is going to be willing to file the companion bill for us on that one. So we're very optimistic about that one. Our second priority is an increase to access of free or low cost, high quality GT training. And this one really falls into the space of teacher retention, which was a huge topic at the Capitol yesterday. One of the things that we know is that, you know, among many other things, one of the things that is making life difficult for teachers currently is all of the requirements that are placed on them over and above just teaching the students. And training falls into that category. There, of course, was discussion yesterday about reading academies and those types of things. But with regard to GT, you know, the training requirements there are certainly the 30 hours of training up front and then the 6-hour updates each year. And our proposal is that we really work to find a way to, first of all, make sure that those trainings are not causing our teachers to have to pay money out of their own pockets to take those trainings. We're also looking to make sure that the teachers have time during their workday to take the training, and that they're not having to do that in the evenings and on the weekends. And then lastly, that those are available online so that they're not having to travel great distances to get those trainings done. And again, Representative Capriglione is planning to file that bill for us. They're still working on the language for that one. So I'm not exactly sure when it's going to be filed, but the deadline is the 10th, so it'll be sometime soon. And I do think Senator Parker has expressed an interest in filing the companion bill in the Senate for that one. And then finally, our third priority is an increase to the GT allotment, which we always feel compelled to push for ever since we lost our allotment in 2019. And the TEA has been really great about trying to help encourage districts to continue supporting GT programs by using their basic allotment. We were able to get a little bit of an allotment back in 2021, but we still know from talking to districts across the state that we have many GT programs that are just woefully underfunded, and they are unable to provide adequate funding. They're unable to provide adequate identification. They don't have the people or the processes to really do a very good job with transparency or accountability. So we really feel like continuing to push for that GT allotment to come back in full is something that we should do. We, however, have not yet been successful in finding a legislator that's willing to take this one up, but we are going to continue to push for that. And then lastly, the last point I want to make is just if you guys are out there talking to families in your district about our organization, or if you're passing on our information to them, we want to make sure you know a couple of the ways that your parents and your families can benefit. We do provide learning opportunities that are presented by GT experts. And I know Monica mentioned that you guys are having a speaker come from the Bridges Academy out in California. We actually, one of our board members is the director of the Bridges Academy. And so she is able to actually help us get experts, not only from the state of Texas, but out in California where Bridges is located. And we do have one coming up on March 23rd. We have somebody from out in California, Sam Young. He's the director of the Young Scholars Academy out there, very focused on neurodivergent learners and that 2E space. And his topic is going to be how to socialize 2E learners, how to do a better job socializing 2E learners. It is geared toward parents. So if you know of any parents that might be interested in that, please send them our way. That's going to be on March 23rd. We also provide monthly newsletters, which are just chock full of resources and news and advocacy ideas for local advocacy for both families and educators. We have a private discussion forum on our social media page, on our Facebook page, so any member can join that, and our board members monitor it. So when they put questions out there, we try to get those answered as quickly as possible. But mostly we just provide encouragement and support for families and also for educators. One of the things that we have started doing recently is something called an office hours event, where we set up an hour. As many of our board members as are available, get out onto a Zoom call, and we just kind of wait for people to call in and ask questions. And recently we had somebody call in and they were asking a question. They were trying to prepare a presentation for their school board, and they were wanting to know, you know, what were some of the things that they could say as a GT advocate that would really resonate with their school board. You know, how do they kind of connect the dots between what things a school board trustee would care about and what things are good for GT kids? And interestingly, we have 2 board members on our board that are current sitting school board trustees. So they were able to answer those questions for her and really kind of talk to her about, you know, some of the ways in which you can really garner school board support. Not only in a presentation that like what she was preparing for, but really on an ongoing basis. So that was a really great conversation that we had. We not too long ago had a teacher who was also a GT parent come and talk to our families about how to build partnerships with teachers. And that was really great, because she was able to not only tell our families, you know, what things should you say to a teacher, but more importantly, what should you not say when you're trying to build those partnerships and really work toward, you know, building support for those GT students. So that was a really powerful discussion. And then one last one that I'll just mention as an example is not too long ago, we ended up with an educator and an administrator from a school district. And they were very interested. They contacted us and we got a couple people on a Zoom call. We do everything via Zoom since we're statewide. But we ended up, they were interested in starting a GT parent group. They did not have one. And they recognized the benefits of having that because they felt like if it was done well, that parent group could really help support their GT teachers and help with some morale issues that they were having there. They also recognized that kind of having a bigger voice would help them with pushing things forward with their school board that were favorable to GT. And then of course, just the support that it would provide to the GT students. So they were really interested in getting one started, but they were also very nervous and a little bit hesitant about getting one going. I remember one of them saying, I feel like a little bit like I might be opening up a Pandora's box. So we were able to have, kind of a really robust conversation about, how you can get one started, how you can do it the right way, how you can be really intentional about the boundaries, how you can kind of take things slowly in the beginning. I was able to share with them that in my district, Grapevine-Colleyville, I was one of the founding members of our parent support group 12 years ago. And in the time since, we were able to create an academy for highly gifted students. That academy is a school within a school model. We have seen many improvements district-wide as a result of that. We've had many families that have actually moved into our district to be a part of that. So it's been super successful. And our support group at this point is able to actually help with funding for various things. We've helped to pay for teacher training. We've helped to pay for above level testing. We've helped to pay for trials of new programs that they wanted to try out. So it truly is a partnership that has been super beneficial to not only the students and the families, but also the educators and the administration. So that was a really great conversation too to have with our educators. So the last couple of things I will give to you guys is if you do want to share information, if you do want to share information with your families, this link here will get you to a flyer that we have put together that you're welcome to just pass on to your families. And it has, a summary of a lot of what I have told you. And then finally, in terms of contact, this is you're welcome to take a picture of this slide. This is our website. And if people take the time to kind of dig around a little bit on our website, we have fantastic resources out there for advocacy, for 2E, for extending learning at home, all kinds of great stuff. And there is a subscribe button at the top of the website that they can click on, and that will they will become a member of our group that way. And again, it is for free. And then at the bottom is an email address that we use for educators when they want to get in touch with us. We kind of like to keep our emails separated so that we can be more efficient in responding. So if any of you would like to contact us, that is the email address that you can use there. And that's really all that I had as far as prepared presentation. But if Monica will allow any more time, I am very happy to answer any questions you guys might have. And the other thing I'm really interested in getting from you guys, if you have any ideas or feedback for us on how we as an organization can do a better job supporting you all. As I mentioned, our organization started in 2019, so we're still pretty young and therefore very agile, and are more than happy to kind of change the way we do things or add new things to our repertoire if there is something that we haven't thought of that we could do to be more supportive of you all. So I am definitely interested in any feedback you guys have. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you, Kim. I do not see any hands raised, and I think the one question that was in the chat has been answered. So thank you. I know you'll probably stay on for a little bit. So if you got any questions, you didn't want to do a whole group, feel free to direct messenger through chat. But you got the information, and then they're putting up the contact information. So feel free to reach out if you're looking at building out your parent component. Also, this is a great opportunity. So thank you, Kim, for joining us today. And we are continuing our conversation on professional learning. And so we kind of talked about some of the planning, the creation of it last time, and we're looking at delivery and administration of our services and really looking at, what does that look like when we're talking about this, how we're providing our PD and what are we doing for PD and those pieces. And as I said, it's a new computer. So I wanted to start once again, and this is just the real gist of the real breakdown of our professional development modules. So as you see, our 30 hours, our nature and needs, our identification and assessment, models of differentiated instruction, creativity and critical thinking, and then engaging students by adding depth and complexity. As you know, we have 2 new modules. We have the administrator and the counselor. We split those up in 2019. So there are 2 different mod trainings, and we'll talk about those in a minute. And then here's the most recent, probably, of our 6-hour updates, are some of ours that have been out there for a moment. Raising Expectation, which is our rigor training, Twice Exceptional Students and Gifted and Talented Services, Creativity and Innovation, and then implementing the Texas Performance Standards Project. And we do have a school board training that is available. Now, all of the caveat is that, as you know, all of these trainings are provided to your ESC, and you can get these through your ESC. They are there as you go into it. All of these are 6-hour modules. We do have our 30 hours in a couple of platforms of face-to-face. And then we also have some that are online that you can get through that is provided still through your ESC. And so all of these are there. But as we talk about and we move into it, really looking at our administrative training, and I know some of you have asked, what do these things compose of? And, really, so kind of giving you the high level of what our trainings are about. So per law, it has to include nature and needs, identification, program options, monitoring, and evaluation. So really trying to help your administrators as they go into these buildings, go into these classes, really looking at what are they doing and how students are and what are the options. And some of that may be more tailored to what is happening in your building and really looking at how to best serve students as they are making decisions. So administrators, as you know, we kind of tweaked our definition even to include teachers who are a part of, as you know, we got some who are in the role of making some decisions on placement. You might want your schedulers to go there also to make sure they're a part of knowing what the options are in your district and really getting into that conversation. So I'm looking at Hannah's question. When you say provided through the ESC, should they be free? We do not dictate to our ESCs how they are to provide that. Some of them are free if you are a part of their co-op. Some of them still have a minimum fee depending on how the processing goes. Then some, because they have to rent out their own space, they're going to charge you a minimal fee that way. It just kind of depends on the ESC. And so we're still continuing, how can we provide better services and how can we do this a little bit differently? So we're thinking and we're taking your feedback as we go forth and going into these options. On the counselor's training, we did update that within the last couple of years and really brought back to really looking at what does a counselor need in the class to assist our gifted and talented students. Really getting into their nature and needs, the program options, identification, and then we added in for their module the components for their social and emotional needs, which we did add into the state plan for providing services. And then also that parent relations. They are probably one of the other first line on having those conversations with parents as we go forth before they hit a teacher. So really looking at how do we provide services and how do they as counselors provide services as we go forward into this. Now, as you know, the 30 hours is really broken down to nature and needs, identification and assessment, and curriculum and instruction. It varies. Now we break it down to a 6, 6, and a 18, because your curriculum and instruction is pretty much 18 hours of instruction. As you look at it, as you build out. It may vary depending on you as a local district. You may have nature needs identification put together, and then add in a social and emotional component, and then having your 3 modules for curriculum and instruction. Then those who do AP may have a little bit different, or a secondary version. I know the district I worked in, we had a identification and assessment, nature and needs kind of built together, and then curriculum instruction tailored for our elementaries and for our secondary. And then we actually had a separate identification and assessment that was specifically for our those who were making decisions on who's doing testing, who were doing that process, and who were part of the selection committee. So this, when you look at the 30 hours, this is the core of it, the core of the components. But as you know, we are a local control state. Long as you meet the core and you're looking at it, there are some things that can be fine-tuned and tweaked. If you have questions or more specifics, reach out to me. Now, here are some of the key components for your nature and needs. I've gone over this before, but I just want to highlight them for you. Really looking at what are those characteristics of gifted and talented students. And then what are those issues and factors that may affect their learning, that may affect their lives, what's going on. And when you're really thinking, if you're tailoring, because I know there are a few districts that do their own, when you're tailoring this, also that might be the conversation of what is happening more at the secondary level compared to the elementary, or what's more happening in your district compared, or your region compared to what is happening statewide or national. So really looking at that. Going into the review of our laws, policies, and rules, really knowing what's going on, how is it happening, what are we doing? You know, there are some very particular things that we do have to meet as a state, as a law, as a district, as a campus, to make sure that we are in compliance with the law. And then really looking at what are those differences? What are those developmental milestones? What are we looking at when we talk about students? And then bringing in their diversity, their cultural, the linguistic backgrounds, really looking at that, really looking at how we are making sure that their social, emotional, and academic needs, that effective learning is being met while we're in the classroom. So having those conversations and really looking at that. And then really looking at what are those options? You know, when you're thinking what is happening in that regular classroom compared to a Pacific area, compared to we're looking at a pull out. So really having those conversations of really building, and then how do these kids relate to each other? How do we build that? How do we grow stronger programs? So that's part of nature and needs. And then when we get to identification and assessment, really this one can, depending on who's developing it, is sometimes it's very high level, by the fact that it's really talking about what are the procedures, how we're gathering data, what information we're building, how we're identifying students, what does it look like from compared to a highly gifted, highly creative, you know, what are those multiple exceptionalities that we may be finding more incidents of in your area, really looking at that. What are some of those informal assessments, those alternate that may be happening in your classrooms, especially when you're talking about your kinder programs or your, you know, or pre-K. So y'all take me to a pre-K level that we were not going, but some of y'all going there. Really looking at how do we assess kids, and then how do you get to the next level? What are you bringing into that part to say, refer the student to the next level? What are you looking at? And I'm gonna throw this one out also. If you have not brought into the conversation of how do you continuously look at student growth, even those who have been identified as they get into the program, you're really thinking about how do we do that? How do we look at our student growth as we look at identification and assessment, especially now especially these days where we are really changing some of our platforms on how we are serving kids, if those teachers are really not looking at their students and making sure that they're growing and knowing about that social and emotional piece, that behavior program problem might be, I'm not being academically and mentally challenged. So where are we, how are teachers looking at our students? And what are they doing to say, this is the next level I can go to when I'm either referring a student or even just thinking about how they approach a student in the day-to-day and how they talk about and conversate with them on what's going on in their lives, what's going on educationally. So really, and academically, as we move and help our students go to the next level. So that's part of that conversation. And then curriculum and instruction, really looking at how do, talking about modifications, really looking at what is creativity? How do we accelerate depth and complexity? How do we bring those pieces in when we are really looking at subject matters, looking at that? What are those evidence-based instructional strategies that they should be using that we know are successful? That, it might be good for all students, but we know it has been successful for these students. How do we adapt the curriculum? How do you either fast pace it, condense it? What are you doing to make sure that students' interests are being met? And then really looking at how do we talk about designing the curriculum, looking at our service area, looking at building out those continuums of learning from K to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 12, 9, 12. How does that look? Looking at our alignment of our curriculum and building that relationship, looking at the strands, those benchmarks as we go forward. And then really looking at how are they working together, working with other students and working independently, and really looking at that process. Pre-K GT, I thought kindergarten universal screening was chaotic. Yes, Diane, yes. You know what? I really don't want to go to pre-K GT. Yes, I do agree. It is chaotic. And yeah, kindergarten universal screening, I bet it is chaotic, really looking at that. But I had some questions on pre-K GT. And so it's like, whoa, we're not there. But someone's taking us there. So, but those kids are coming. And there's nothing to say when we're talking about PD is your pre-K, your early childhood teachers getting this training, being ready to approach kids who are coming, because these parents are seeing things in their children early on that, for some, coming into kindergarten is too late. They need to be there earlier. And so really thinking about the options, and not necessarily us providing services, because we are, per our law, K-12 programs, but really looking at what does that mean for, there are some states that have gone to pre-K. I'm not going to be, at this time, I'm not an advocate for Texas to go there, but really looking at how do we work with those teachers so that as they're working with these robust young ladies and young men, how to get them out there, get them to the next level to start seeing and start tracking. And well, not tracking, I will take that back, but start looking and then start promoting, the higher level of thinking. There's nothing wrong with higher level thinking at early ages. I'm just going to put it that way. Now, for our school AP programs, so remember, if they are part of that program, they should have their 30 hours of GT training. I've heard all kinds of stories lately, but no, the APSI does not replace the entire 30 hours of training. No, it does not. It only replaces the curriculum instruction piece. We have actually promote really taking out that they should really count towards looking at 12 hours of that. And then instead of the 8, some still do the 18, but we're recommending the 12. And then they take our depth and complexity for the secondary GT learner. I know there are some who are really looking at that, or at the least, if they're 18 hours over here with the college APSI, then the following year is their update, and that update is the depth and complexity. So bringing in some kind of way that they get depth and complexity, differentiated instruction, and that will help them. And our training is less expensive than the APSI. unless it's paid by teacher training reimbursement. So those are some options. And then when we talk about the 6-hour update, these are what we always say, and this information is on the website under our guidance for interpreting the state plan. So this is not new. It has been out there. Really looking at, is it designed to prepare teachers to meet the needs of gifted students? So when you're looking at those other things that are out there that are not a part of something that we've either put out as an agency through our ESCs or your ESCs have developed, but it might be, TAGT is a part of, they are a guide under here, but it might be TCEA is building out some programs. Your World Aquarium is putting out things, the Dallas Museum of Art, those partners out there who are doing this work. This is where you start looking at what does this fit? How does this look into it? Is it providing them with preparation, guidance, or is it separate? Was it designed for the English classroom, but not for specifically for the GT English classroom? So really looking at, does it meet our student needs? Does it increase the understanding of nature needs of our gifted students? Is this person considered an expert in gifted ed or a practitioner level or expert in the content area? So really looking at embedding who are the people who are providing the training, how they're providing it, and then what is their goal? And as we talked last time about your plan and your written plan, what are you looking for? When people say, I went to a conference and I want this to count, what are you asking back? Do these things meet? How are you looking for it? Are you looking at an agenda? Are you looking just at a certificate that says GT and we don't know what the content was? So really looking at all these pieces of what is part of our training out there. What are we looking at? Why are we accepting it? And then how do you get credit for it? So really adding that piece into the conversation and into the language of it. So I also want to highlight some of the other professional development modules, the 6 hours that we have available. You heard me talking about our depth and complexity for the secondary learner. Attending to the effect, which is our social and emotional learning module. Overlooked and underserved, which is looking at our English learners. And then economically disadvantaged, gifted and talented students. And then our other new one is gifted language learners. So all of these are available through your ESC. They have been trained on them, that we've had our TOT, so they have this material. So this is, just a few opportunities. Just want to let you know they're there. And then it is question and answer time. What are your needs? What are you thinking? How can I help you? So we're here to we're talking PD or other questions. So this is, I always like to open it up. So anyone got a question out there? I think I answered all the ones that I saw in the chat. Any hands? No hands. I know y'all are talking to group. I know somebody has a question on something on PD, or it might be on something else. I'm fine. Okay. And I think I think Seth, I'm working on a language for that also. Okay. So, Seth's question is talking about subject level acceleration all the way down to kinder. Can you provide some clarity on this? So when we talk subject level acceleration, and within the state plan, there are a couple of sections, standards in the state plan that address acceleration period. And that is probably the only place that you will find it other than Chapter 74. Chapter 74 addresses whole grade instruction and whole grade for K-5. K-5, whole grade, and grade skipping for those who are considering it. Where if you're looking only specifically for a student for a grade level acceleration, maybe in math, a kindergartner or first grader or third grader, and you're looking for specifically for just accelerating one subject area or maybe two, you have to go to the state plan for that. We give a little bit more leeway where that is part of your options. And following your district guidelines, you have to come up with a guideline with some procedures and some policy on how do you look at students who need to be skipped for a subject. What are your guidelines? What are your protocols? What are your considerations as you do that and putting that in place? As you know, you have to have that for created by exam for subject for grade level, but we're asking that you have that for your subject area, where most times this is not going to apply to all students. This is applying to our GT students. So really looking at how whatever you're going to use for that one subject area to accelerate and move to the next place. And if you're looking now, your acceleration policy may look a little bit different as you go through different places, but really looking at where are you going, how you're building. And it's to that. So it is in the state plan. Kathy just put it in there, 3.8 acceleration and flexible pacing is, and then 4.5 opportunities are provided to accelerate in areas of student strength. 4.5, those have been there for years. So really, we kind of, our guidance is probably given a little bit more what you might want to consider compared to just those statements right there. But we can add more guidance to the state plan when we open it on acceleration and then going on to that. So no, you're not necessarily out of compliance because you should have something in place. Wow, okay, that's interesting. Think a parent think you're out of compliance for not having acceleration policies, but you should have something in place internally if it's not on your website. And then all kids are not open to acceleration to that level. And then we also kind of left that the level of acceleration more to a local decision, because it might be you're accelerating and your acceleration is for third graders is actually third grade and fourth grade math combined together, and they're moving that fast, and it is a more scaffold, a faster paced curriculum compared to actually our third graders are going into a fourth grade room to take, I think most times it's going to be that one-on-one student who actually is moving at a faster pace, where you really got to think about what are those opportunities to accelerate compared to you have an organized plan. And so I think we are also at the disadvantage of the language of accelerate is so much used differently across the state compared to what we're considering is acceleration. So, and Seth, I have not forgotten your question. I do have it. I've been in and out of the city and out of office and out of pocket. So, but I have been working on your statement. So I just want to make that. Can you please clarify about providing through ESC? So I'm assuming you're talking about professional development. So your ESC, that's something you may have a conversation with them on their professional development. Sometimes they do have something that is free, sometimes they do not. It depends, and it depends on if you're a co-op member or not. So I think it behooves you to have that conversation with your GT coordinator at the ESC level. I know a lot of them are here. We will make sure that I think I still have the list out on the website. I do need to update that list. But if you want to reach out to me, feel free to reach out, and I will connect you with your ESC if you don't know them. And yeah, Amber's here from Region 13. Kathy is from Region 4. I know she's been dropping things in the chat also. And so, yeah, they're here for you. So yes, I'm going back, I'm looking. And then another thing, we can have a further conversation on acceleration. To, you know, if you want to have that conversation, I know we've talked about it in there, but I don't think we've actually done a full one out there. So I'm looking at Diana Wood's question. Anyone know of a person or a service that will test our GT students? I'm a one-person show and my workload is killing my schedule. I am looking for a new method for next year. So there's someone questioning out there, really looking at how can you change over your process to look at getting your GT students tested. Some probably bring in a few contractors to do the testing, depending on the test. You have to do some training for them, but or the GT coordinator. So anyone have any suggestions out there for Diane? Let her know and drop it. Okay. Okay, so I'm looking at Yolanda Flores' question. When a student is GT and SPED, is the GT campus committee able to exit the student from GT services without including SPED and GT coordinators in the conversation? No. We would not want to be omitted from the R conversation and be part of that. So no, I'm gonna put it that way. So when a GT student is GT and SPED, we are in their conference, we are invited to their art meeting. They should be invited to your selection committee meeting for services. That is full transparency on both sides. We are working together for the best interest of the student. So no, you cannot exclude one from the other. They both have to be at the table to have these conversations. So Debbie, we are working on our list of just actual screeners. We do not have a list of just specifically kinder screeners out there, but we are working on our list to improve that. So Hannah, we do not provide the PowerPoint modules for 1 through 5. That is provided to our ESCs. They do provide that out there. That is something that we can, that has been asked before, but at this time we do provide that through our ESCs and not directly to the districts. Okay. Yes. So yes, you, I'm glad to have brought something across the table. So yes, you are to be at their art meetings. If they are GT, you're part of that conversation. If they, they invite them to ours before we start moving a kid out of the process. Let's have the conversations and make sure everybody's at the table. And they're really thinking about what's going on and how we do that. So yeah, because so looking at Leah, Rachel's question, and do we have, they have a pull-out program for 45 minutes per week. Is there a GT teacher-student ratio? There is not one provided by the state. That is a local district decision. So, but I will still say it needs to be something feasible. You can still work on what is the normal teacher-student ratio. But as I said, as we're getting ready to reopen and think about the state plan, these are things that you might want to recommend, that there would be a student teacher ratio for programs and services. Now, also remember, if you make those kind of recommendations, it needs to be flexible enough to meet the needs of our entire state. Compared to, it could be a recommendation, or, it can be part of our, our guidance level. So we can also take that back to our Commissioners Advisory Council for Gifted and Talented and look at, what are those ratios. So thank you. I see no hands. It's 2:05. Don't want to go too far over time. over an hour here. Any shout outs, happenings, anybody want to share what they're going through, what they got going on, anything they want to put out there in the world? So just want to remind you, I will be making sure in updating the resources update, our page with all of our PowerPoints, our videos, make sure they're up to date and clean. So I will be doing that this week. And so, and then actually it's about time to put out a newsletter. So if you got anything you want to share, want to put out there, feel free to send it to me. And then I will make sure it's out there. Thank you for really sharing and what's going on as we go into it. And once again, here's my contact information. Feel free to call me, email me. Unless I'm just out and traveling and moving about, I try to get you a quick response. And if I don't, feel free to just shoot me a note and it's like, I'm waiting. Because sometimes it does get lost in the email chain, but we're working on a new system, so more news to come. But I want to say thank you for joining me today. As I said earlier, take some time to get some fresh air. And then as we get into it, and if you want, we can have some more conversations. Oh, I do want to remind you, because I know March is typically our spring break month. We will not meet again till the end of March, which I want to say is March 20. I had a date. It's my date. March 28th, 2023, March 28th. And then actually, I did mention there was Bridges, but Bridges is in April. So March 28th, we actually have a nationally renowned test developer coming to talk to us, Jack Nagliari, and some of his cohorts, Dr. Dina Brualis, and a couple of others are going to talk about, just really looking at how do we look at students and looking at screening and looking at testing. It is not a promotion, it's just looking at the info. So, but hey, I'm always taking a free opportunity. So I want to say thank you for joining me today. Have a great day. March 28th. And then April will be, interesting. I think we all missed it. Okay. But we'll be there some kind of way. We'll work it out. So thank you. Thank you for always joining me. Thank you for coming. And if you have further questions, feel free to reach out and see you. Happy spring break. Enjoy the weather. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Hannah. All right. Have a good one.